Athanasius? He believed in the Eucharist.
So Athanasius believed in the bodily assumption and things like that.
Actually, the bodily assumption wasn't even a defined dogma at the time, but if I can finish what I was saying, he did believe in the Eucharist. He did believe in many implicit doctrines of Mary. He believed in a lot of things that... he never believed in sola scriptura, that's one thing for sure. He's attempted to prove that he did believe in that in the past, but it's irrelevant whether he believed or whether he wrote about the Assumption of Mary or not. That's an irrelevant argument, James.
It's irrelevant that you can read in... Well, it's I don't know, William, maybe I like documentation...
You're right. Then why do you believe in sola scriptura and sola fide? There's no documentation in the early church of those doctrines.
Well, I have this thing called the New Testament, and I have something called the Old Testament, and then I also have the mechanisms by which these individuals in the early church actually argued, such as Athanasius, for the deity of Christ. And he didn't do so by appealing to the Bishop of Rome. In fact, even though the Bishop of Rome signed the Arianized Sirmium Creed, and it was Athanasius alone that stood for the actual Nicene faith. He's kicked out of his church 5 times.
Can you prove that Liberius signed that document?
Oh, my goodness. Yes, sir.
We can you give me some documentation that he did sign that document?
Well, whenever I give you documentation, you don't seem to be concerned about it. So I would direct people to Philip Schaff's discussion, to J.N.D. Kelly's discussion.
And they say that Liberius signed all those documents. There's not a shadow of a doubt.
What all these documents? I said one.
Okay, well, you know what I meant. They say that he signed the document.
No, William, I don't know what you mean, because when you say one thing, you change what you're saying later on. Yes, you do. In fact, just to give you an idea, let's hold on a second. Thank you. Put you on hold there. Let's listen to part of William's scholarly beating down of me on Ignatius.
I cover all 5 of the videos and the relevant parts that we need to that James White has done on Ignatius. A minute and 28 seconds into the video, we hear James White make the accusation that Roman Catholics cannot handle the early church fathers in an accurate fashion. Then we hear that only really Protestants can handle the early church fathers. I couldn't help but laugh a little here. The early church, which believed in the primacy of the Pope, prayer to the saints, gave respect due to Mary, did not believe in the premillennial rapture, believed in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, and the early church that gave us the Bible. Not the Protestant Bible lacking 7 books, but the complete Bible. It's that early church that the Protestants can handle, right?
Now, those I believe are your words, are they not? Yes, you are. Are they your words?
Okay, and I would assume so, unless I have a split personality, which I don't.
Okay, good.
But,
good. So you believe...
I don't see the point in jumping into Ignatius when we're trying to speak about Mary at the moment.
Because your assertion, of course, was that you have already made almost every single one of these very same statements in what we've been discussing here. And it illustrates what I've said many, many times. You just absolutely insist that the early church believed exactly what you believe. And when you are challenged to provide...
Catholic, absolutely.
Roman Catholic specifically, and when you are challenged...
The Roman rite is one
right. And when you are challenged...
It's hard to understand.
And when you are challenged to document that, you just simply say, it's irrelevant.
No,
I don't need to show you where Athanasius believed in these things because, well, they were Catholics and they believed in these things, and Athanasius believed in the Eucharist the same way I do, even though he never used the language that I do, and even though he didn't have Aristotelian... See, he didn't need to use the language that I use.
He doesn't need to use the exact same terms because it didn't exist back then. That's common sense.
So we just read the later developments back into Athanasius, even though he doesn't use the language. See, there's no way to refute an argument like that because it's not an argument. It's a circular argument.
Kind of like your argument on there being no biblical distinction between Lateria and Dulia. It's very easy to refute that. It's very easy to refute it. All you got to do is show me evidence that Athanasius didn't believe in the real corporal presence of Christ. And guess what? I'll shut my mouth and I'll admit, you know what? He didn't. It's very easy. It's very easy to refute.
So if these people are not even talking about these subjects, then we just assume that they all believe these things. And so when Athanasius when he argues for the deity of Christ and he uses, what does he use? He even identifies apostolic tradition as being what? As being the Scriptures. And he never makes the kind of appeal to external tradition outside the canon of Scripture to demonstrate his point. Yet you say, well, it's just ridiculous to believe that he believes these things. He was arguing
with the Arians. Of course he was using Scripture.
He was arguing with the Arians, so of course he's going to use Scripture.
He doesn't stick to the Scriptures alone, James. That's
he doesn't stick to the Scriptures alone for what? For what?
For every single one of his arguments, James. Are you asserting?
For what? About the deity of Christ?
I'm not referring only to the deity of Christ. I'm referring
to what?
Okay, if I'm allowed to finish my sentence, it'd be great. I'm simply going to ask you, do you think that Athanasius believed in sola scriptura in the sense that you believe? That's all I'm asking you. Simple as that.
Yes, I believe he practiced it.
Really? He practiced sola scriptura?
Yes.
So he has that Bible in his hand with all the books that you've got, and he practiced sola scriptura.
Actually, interestingly enough, you in this clip I just played said that all these early church people who gave the Bible had your canon. Athanasius didn't.
I never once said that.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and play this again. Yeah, who gave us the Bible? Let's see what you said here.
Church fathers in an accurate fashion. Then we hear that only really Protestants can handle the early church fathers. I couldn't help but laugh a little here. The early church, which believed in the primacy of the Pope, prayed to the saints, gave respect due to Mary, did not believe in the premillennial rapture.
Oh, by the way, do you think I believe in the premillennial rapture?
No, James, but I've heard a lot of your debates, James, and one time it did seem as if you did believe in the premillennial rapture. And if you want, I can document that MP3 and I'll play it.
Okay, all right.
The presence of Christ in the Eucharist and the early church that gave us the Bible. Not the Protestant Bible lacking 7 books, but the complete Bible.
Okay, what does that mean? Not the Protestant Bible lacking 7 books, but the complete Bible. What does that mean?
That means that there's 7 books that are lacking from your Bible.
Did Athanasius give that to you?
Did Athanasius give me... No, Athanasius wasn't the author of canon. That was God. So
okay,
no, Athanasius didn't give that to me.
I agree completely. So Athanasius doesn't fit into your definition of the early church here, does he?
Athanasius fits perfectly in, and I'm glad that you brought him up because he uses a lot of the deuterocanonical books in a way that they're sacred scripture. He even calls them sacred scripture many times.
And in fact, when he writes out the canon of scripture, he
I would disagree with your interpretation on that. On the 39th Festal letter, I disagree with your interpretation of the 39th Festal letter.
Show me where it does not specifically exclude.
Okay, all right. Let me finish. I can finish. I'm not going to say, oh, you know what, I believe this, but not give you any documentation. I'm going to finish. I'm not going to leave you high and dry. I'm going to tell you, I do believe that I can give you that documented proof. If you want, I'll even make a video series on that because I've written it all out on Athanasius. I will admit, I don't think he used the term canon in the same sense that any of us use the term canon, but I do not believe, and I can prove he did not use the Protestant sense of the canon. He doesn't include every single Protestant book or every single proto-canonical book. He even includes one book that you wouldn't consider proto-canonical.
So, which is what?
I can pull that up if you like right now, and I'll look at it. You want me to look it up
okay.
Right
no, that's all right. I've listened to what Steve Ray and Gary Machuda have to say on it. We've already responded to that.
As an argument,
we put the entire text of the 39th Festal letter in the videos. We put it up there, and I don't see any reason to go over all of that all over again.
I don't think that they're going to use some of the arguments that I've come up with. So if you'd like, I can present that to you, and you can put it on your show and make fun of me if you like. If you think it's ridiculous. I just don't agree with your interpretation of Athanasius and his 39th Festal letter.
And in fact, you would not agree with how Roman Catholic scholarship has interpreted him or Jerome.
I understand there's some different Catholic apologists out there that view him differently, and I guess it depends which one are you speaking about. If you can tell me an apologist, I'll tell you if I agree with him or not.
I see. So when you make the claim in your video about Ignatius, and you consider this to be some sort of refutation, that they gave us the whole Bible, you're not including in the early church then Melito, Sardis, Origen, Jerome, Athanasius, Gregory the Great, Cardinal Jimenez, etc., etc.
Was Cardinal Jimenez an early father?
Oh no, he would not be. I'm talking about the entire tradition going up through that period of time. Well, all those folks just missed it.
I would admit that a lot of them disputed over the books. I mean, they disputed over proto-canonical books that you consider part of the canon to this day too.
Okay.
The Melito Sardis, of course, had a different canon. I would admit that.
Okay, good. So So
but
why
origin,
make
I would not agree on your misrepresentation of origin. I would agree
misrepresentation of origin.
Yeah, because you just said right now, you hinted that origin held, I guess, are you hinting that he held as a Protestant canon?
When we disagree on what someone says, for you, that means the other person is using laughable scholarship and is automatically misrepresenting something rather than my recognition that. And then when someone paraphrases you, just simply say, "No, I never once said that," and then they have to replay your words again, which you can't always do that. And it's always just a twisting of your words. But the point is that Origen recognized that there is a Hebrew canon and a canon outside of that, so he recognizes that and does not see that there is some sort of Roman papal apostolic authority that establishes all these things.
Origen viewed a lot of the deuterocanonical books as being scripture, so I really don't see your point in using Origen if he doesn't support your position.
The point is that Origen recognized that the Hebrews had a shorter canon,
right,
and it was the Hebrews to whom the oracles of God had been committed according to Romans chapter 3, which is apostolic. So, hey, William, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. We only have 30 seconds left, but I was trying to say goodbye to him and to say thank you for calling. And unfortunately, my touchpad hit drop instead of hold. So I apologize for that, but we only have about 30 seconds left anyways. Well, there you, I think, have a clear indication, very, very clear indication of why it is that I have been utterly amazed when Steve Ray has made reference to these videos, because no matter what you say, there's just absolutely no reasoning in that kind of a mindset. It's circular. There's no way around it. So that's how it works. So I appreciate William calling in, and I appreciate the conversation. And hey, it got your mind off politics for an hour. In more ways than one. Just secular politics. So, anyways, thanks to William for calling in. And like I said, we will not have Dividing Line on Thursday. We will try to find some way of fitting something in next week, but it will have to be from London, so it's just going to be a challenge. We're going to do our best to do that. We will see you then. God bless.
The Dividing Line has been brought to you by Alpha and Omega Ministries. If you'd like to contact us, call us at 602-973-4602 or write us at P.O. Box 37106, Phoenix, Arizona 85069. You can also find us on the World Wide Web at aomin.org. That's aomin.org, where you'll find a complete listing of James White's books, tapes, debates, and tracts. Join us again next Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. for The Dividing Line.